But I think a lot of outside people are discovering horsepower and discovering horsepower in a way that makes them feel good about what they're buying. Human-powered farming is great. It's hard. Horse-powered farming is great. It's also hard, but in a different way. There's not as much pressure to produce herbs as there is to produce veg. Like you need to have the first tomatoes. You really want the first of everything, but the herbs, it's just like you get them when you get them. They were bred originally as war horses to be like super steady and pull cannons and be down with like all the bangs and horrificness of war. And they're still pretty steady.
Do you think that there's also a push of this economical, ecological idea to go away from, like you said, going away from diesel fuel? People are seeing that or wanting that? So you're Becky,
I'm Becky.
and this is Horsetail Herb Farm.
That's right.
I have to like think of it in my head because I keep getting like a tongue twister on it.
Yes.
But what you're doing here is really, really cool. You use horsepower.
That's right.
For everything.
Yep. Horses instead of tractors.
So tell me a little bit about how this got started.
I started in horses probably, oh gosh, almost 10 years ago in 2015. I was working on a vegetable farm on the West Coast. I learned to drive some horses out there. And I've been in farming for a while. I really enjoy farming. I love it so much. And we ended up landing in Washington on a horse-powered farm. That's where I learned to drive. I was thinking about, other ways to incorporate horses into farming because your options are kind of limited.
Right.
Your options are like vegetables or like grain crops or like all these huge options. I worked on a veg farm for 3 or 4 years before moving out to the West. Everyone knows like the margins are really small and everyone's competing kind of for the same markets and all that stuff. And I wanted to do something that wasn't vegetables because veg is really hard on your body.
It is very hard.
It's really hard on your body.
Yeah.
And your psyche, like if you're looking at things economically, it's really challenging. And I found myself in a place where I was really poor. I didn't have any health insurance and I was sick. And I was like, what can I do? I can't go to the hospital. It's going to cost a lot of money. So I ended up finding medicinal herbs, and that really helped me through.
Okay.
And so kind of pairing the medicinal herbs with the horses, it just seemed like the obvious next step. I was working for a medicinal herb, they were like importers, I would say distributors. And I noticed that on all of the stickers, all the packaging that we would put together, 70% of the countries of origin on the labels came from a different country, which is fine. That's great. We can grow dandelion root here.
Yeah.
We can grow nettles here. We can grow.
Well,
like,
we are growing
here.
them. They're just being sprayed dead.
They're right there.
Yeah, they're all being grown on their own.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I did some research and nobody was doing horse-powered medicinal herbs. It's like, okay, this is what I'm gonna do. It took me 5 to 10 years to get it together.
Okay.
But here we are.
All right, so we're gonna go see your horses now.
I'm gonna go see the ponies.
The ponies, okay. What do you use them for exactly?
So we use the horses for primary tillage, cultivation, dragging stuff around. Very helpful to move transplants from here all the way out there. Dawn uses them for logging. So we have a wood lot Dawn logs out of. That's where all our firewood comes from.
And we should probably plug, you told me off camera, Dawn is the owner here and you're leasing the farm and a house from him here.
Dawn and Mary Rose own the farm and my partner and I lease
Okay.
land and a home. So, we also make most of our own hay. So we do that almost entirely with horsepower. Okay. We do baling with a tractor because it's hard to do with horses. It's a lot. We can go over here and see Ida. She's here visiting. So we have a stallion. Suffolk Punch is the breed. Okay. They're a fairly rare breed, but they're a workhorse from England, Suffolk, England. And Dawn really enjoys this breed, and I do too.
They're very pretty.
Yeah, they're bred for work, which is really nice at this point in the game. A lot of draft horses of all breeds are being bred more for the show ring than for actual working, and it does change the way we look at them as far as conformation. So conformation for work versus confirmation for looking pretty. Suffolks at this point, because they've been so rare for so long, they still have kind of that confirmation for work.
I mean, she's very
Which is really
muscular.
nice.
Like
Yeah,
I can see
right.
like here,
Yeah.
down her back.
Yeah. She's got a nice big booty,
Yeah.
which is very helpful when you need some horsepower.
Yeah.
So she's here visiting our stallion.
Oh.
She doesn't belong to us, but
Getting a boyfriend.
yes.
Okay.
And she is
Nice.
bred, which is really lovely.
Aw, congratulations.
Yes.
You said it a little bit, but could you go into a little bit more detail about the big difference between horsepower and tractor power? Like, is it just monetarily, or are there things that horses can do that really tractors can't do as far as efficiency goes, production?
As far as efficiency and production, I would definitely say that tractors are more efficient. You turn a key,
Yeah.
and there's your traction right there. Horses is more because it brings me fulfillment.
Okay.
It brings me enjoyment and fulfillment.
I mean, your tractor is not going to help you with your mood if you're having a bad day, right?
Right. And also, we do make all our own hay with the horses. I can't make diesel. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I can feed these guys, or we can feed these guys fairly well ourselves from the land base that we're working on here. Whereas obviously I'm not manufacturing diesel.
Right.
It does make finding equipment hard sometimes. A lot of our equipment is from the 1930s, 40s, 50s.
Okay.
So there's some maintenance there, and luckily Don, the owner, he is great at welding and fabrication. Definitely a great skill. You do have to choose to use horses. It is definitely a choice. If we were to sell our hay, it would cost $8 a square bale or more.
Right.
Being around these guys is a lot of the reason why to do it horsepower.
So you were talking about the breed and how a lot of horses are bred right now for show more than they are for work. So what characteristics really are you looking for? Like we talked about the big booty. Are you looking for any kind of like demeanor? Like you said, Duchess.
Yeah.
She's more professional.
Yeah.
So what are you looking for when you're trying to, like if someone was trying to select a workhorse, what would you be looking for?
Don would say you gotta breed horses who have been in harness. So you're not just breeding bodies, you're breeding brains. It says that about this lovely lady right here. This is Mary.
Hi, Mary.
She is a really wonderful workhorse. She and Red, we call them our A-team. They're really great horses to use for instructing. Don does a bunch of teaching teamsters. He has like a teamster school, but it's about being able to be calm in harness and being able to not step on all your plants and not do stupid stuff.
Or just run off because they're done.
Just skedaddle. Yeah, it's a lot about breeding brains too, and bringing them up in a way where they're easy to handle. Like I can probably jump on her back right now and she wouldn't flinch, or I can pick up all her feet. And I can manipulate her body in ways, just chillness. It's kind of like the draft horses. They were bred originally as war horses to be super steady and pull cannons and be down with all the bangs and horrificness of war.
Yeah.
And they're still pretty steady at this point. It's just breeding them for harness.
Yeah. She is just so calm.
Oh yeah.
I can just feel the calmness coming in. How does their disposition help with work? Like if you're in a hurry, do they feel that?
Oh yeah.
How does that relationship work?
Yeah. Oh, I find myself at this point trying to be as calm and as just get into the zone. I got to put all the other things aside. Otherwise, I'm going to have a bad day.
Yeah.
We're going to have a bad day because we're a team.
Yeah.
And we have to work together. Otherwise, it's going to be a disaster. I find myself walking into the barn and being like, okay, this is what I'm doing. It might take an hour. It might take an hour and a half. It might take 3 hours. But I'm here for it. And the team is here for it. And if we're all on the same page, it's going to be really fulfilling. You're going to look behind you and see all the stuff you did together as a team and be like, yes, we nailed it. And it just starts out with, for me personally, how I walk into the barn, how I start doing these things. For me and for them, like routine is a huge part of that. For me, especially like when you're harnessing up, just groom the horse and be like, okay, you don't have any weird stuff in your mane. Okay, you don't have this. Like, all right, a harness is good to put on you. Like, we can just do this.
Yeah.
And that routine gets me into the mindset and them into the mindset. And you kind of do just have to accept like, this might not go the way I want it to, but that's okay. I still got to have a good time, mostly a good time with my team.
Well, and in any profession, in any industry, any job, you're gonna have bad days.
Oh, for sure.
Right? You're not gonna
and
walk
Mary
in.
has bad days too.
Exactly. So it's like you're walking into an office building. It just happens to be a barn with your team, and your team member happens to be a horse, and you gotta go do the job.
Right.
I love it.
Right.
They are so calming.
Oh, they're so
love
chill.
it.
Yeah.
So you love horses. You found herbs. You found a business model to put them together, but you're leasing this place.
That's true.
How did you find Dawn, and how did you cultivate the relationship to be able to be here and do these things?
That's very real. Yeah, land access is a huge thing for young farmers, at least young farmers who are in my economic position. So Dawn and Mary Rose and I are all members of this organization called the Draft Animal Power Network. Actually, yep.
Yep.
So I was getting the DAPnet emails. Corey and I moved to Cortland in 2020,
Right.
totally sensible human beings, and made no friends for like the first year. What? You move somewhere in a pandemic and nobody talks to you.
I wonder why.
Corey and I were living in Cortland. I was working at a cheese factory because I'm also a cheesemaker. I got one of the Draft Animal Power Network newsletters, and for the first time ever, I actually read the whole thing. I scrolled all the way down to the bottom, and there was a little blurb. It said, Dawn Hughes and Mary Rose Livingston are hosting an event at their farm in Marathon. I was like, what? No way. That's like 20 minutes down the road.
Yeah.
I didn't realize there was horse people around. And so I went to the event. I introduced myself. We got along. It was a really good time. And
So you introduced yourself because you're just looking for a like-minded friend?
I wanted to get back into horses.
Yeah.
Like, your relationship with horses is something you never lose, but you can get out of practice.
Yeah.
And I wanted to stay in practice. And so making a connection with a local person who owned horses and did work with horses was really important to me. And so when we connected, they were kind of talking about how the people who lived in the Stone House, which is where I live now, they were planning on leaving, and they were looking for some farmers to move in. And I was like, wow, that's very interesting. Because at that point I had started Horsetail Herb Farm. I was just growing on a different piece of land.
Okay.
It was a lot smaller.
Were you using horses?
Nope.
Okay.
I was human powered.
Okay.
Which is really hard.
Yeah.
It's so hard.
You don't have the muscles that Mary does back there.
Yeah, right? Yeah, it just worked out that they were willing to have us, and we were willing to be here, and very willing to be here. That's kind of the story.
That's awesome.
Which is really nice. Oh yeah, maybe we'll go this way.
Okay. So we made it to your garden plot.
Yes.
Is this your main plot that you're growing in?
Yeah. So, well, you can see that one too. That's newly broken ground.
Oh, over there where it's, okay.
Yeah. I haven't planted into it yet because it's not okayed by my organic certifier yet. Okay. So I'm waiting for the okay in order to start growing out of that.
Gotcha.
So Corey just did a bunch of great work. It looks really nice with that straddle row cultivator.
Uh-huh.
So you can see we've got garlic and calendula. This is a little bit of cilantro because I do culinary herbs as well. You can really bring people into your farmer's market stall with culinary herbs.
Yeah.
Not necessarily little brown bags of tulsi, for example.
Uh-huh.
But you can see, yeah, there's tulsi here too, which is really nice. Smells really good. Are you familiar with medicinal herbs?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I'm still a beginner. I won't
Yeah.
say I'm any form of expert, but I try to make sure I have my tea every day. I have, we live in a fifth wheel,
Yep.
right? So we can't have a garden.
Right.
But calendula I really
Yeah.
enjoy. So I've got a plant in a 5-gallon bucket.
Oh, nice.
But I gotta say, mine is really tall.
Yeah.
And it's not very leafy, and yours looks a lot leafier than mine.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's
I don't
the
know.
dirt that we've got,
Growing in
probably,
the
yeah.
ground. Mine, everything in here is really late. Because we had a lot of rain this spring. And I
Oh,
wasn't
yeah.
able to get out here
Yeah,
as early as I'd like, which I'm so okay with.
yeah.
There's-
Right?
There's not as much pressure to produce herbs as there is to produce veg. Like you
Yeah.
need to have the first tomatoes. You really want
Yeah.
the first of everything. But the herbs, it's just like you get them when you get them.
Yeah. So how,
fine.
so I can imagine how you plant it.
Yeah.
You bring the cultivator behind, plant the seeds or the transplant. But how do you harvest with the horses?
I don't. Harvest
you
is
just-
mostly hand.
Okay.
By hand. There is an exception. We do have this really cool root digger that Dawn made for medicinal roots like ashwagandha. You can kind of see the ashwagandha over here. So it's still really little.
This one? Okay.
This is ashwagandha, yeah.
I didn't notice what it looked like.
Yeah. It's a solanaceous plant. It gets Colorado potato beetle, which you will probably see. But using Dawn's root digger has been really helpful in making root harvest more efficient. 10 times more efficient than coming through with a fork and forking 300 row feet.
Yeah.
It's been very helpful, but that was new last fall, so I haven't tried it on every single crop, but I'm very happy.
Yeah.
Very happy to have that.
He really is able to help you then as more of like a partnership than it is like a landlord. If he's, you know, fabricating equipment for you and you're using it on your gardens, that's awesome.
Yeah, people joke that we're like a commune, but we're not.
Or an adoptive family member or something.
Right. You know, we do help each other out. It's part of my rental agreement to help with hay, which it's pure bliss. I love that. I love throwing bales of hay. It's so fun. You know, Dawn and Mary Rose are getting older, and like I'm in my 30s, and so like helping each other out just kind of, I don't know, it's just kind of the way it works here.
Made sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
It's really wonderful.
Yeah.
I feel so grateful to be here.
So you said about your organic certification. So
Yes.
you are certified organic.
That's right.
What other, like, do you use any sprays whatsoever? Like even the ones that are labeled organic?
I don't spray what you would call organic pesticides. The things I spray is comfrey nettle fermented tea, for example. And I have a milk cow over there. And when I have extra milk and when I'm dealing with powdery mildew issues, I will spray a 20% solution of organic raw milk onto my plant. That's it.
That's
so,
awesome.
I mean, all of the bug damage you see is, that's why.
Yeah.
I'm not really interested in spraying things. I'm also kind of not in that economic space, if you will. I just leave it at that.
Yeah.
It's not like there's not pests here. There's loads of pests. I just choose not to care about it.
I kind of like that. You choose not to care about it. I saw somebody make a comment somewhere. It said, well, why wouldn't a healthy bug want a healthy plant?
Right.
And I'm like, well, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, there's some fascinating research. I'm going to nerd out here.
Go for it.
There's some fascinating research that the Regenerative Agriculture podcast kind of brought to my attention. John Kemp is doing some really interesting things. Is that the way insects see plants is they see the plants that don't have full nutrition, that are not healthy.
I think I saw that same research, actually, because they're helping to break it down and go back into the soil, I think is what I was seeing with it.
Oh, I haven't followed up on that in like a while. That was just the thing that really stuck out to me, that like making healthy plants is going to help with your pest pressure as well.
Yeah.
That's fascinating. So this is clary sage, I should tell you.
What does it do?
This, clary sage is kind of a new herb for me. I use it as a flavoring in kombucha for my personal self.
Ooh.
But I actually had a couple of people come up to the farmer's market and be like, what is that plant? That's amazing. And then we, had a conversation, and they used it for postpartum things like sitz baths and teeth for that kind of thing. My experience is limited, but it was very interesting hearing them talk about it in those ways. I mean, you could smell it.
I smell it now, yeah.
It's incredible.
It smells
It's
very good.
so often used for essential oils as distilled into essential oils, which, I mean, it's so, you touch it and you're like, wow, I can feel the oils. It's so sticky.
yeah.
Isn't it crazy? It's so beautiful. But I like to make hydrosols when I can.
Okay.
I have a friend who makes hydrosols.
What is a hydrosol?
A hydrosol is basically distilled plant matter. It's kind of the byproduct of making essential oils, except it's pretty common nowadays to not take the essential oil out of the hydrosol, to sell it together as one. So it's basically all of the water-soluble oils that are in the plant.
Gotcha.
And so it comes out during the distillation process.
Gotcha.
It's really lovely. People use clary sage a lot for magical purposes, which is not something I have experience with either, but I'm aware of.
That's what they use it for.
Right. Clary sage, right? Like.
So walk me through a little bit of the business side of it. I imagine people are going to be wondering, well, with a horse you have all the extra costs that go in with it. You have to feed it hay, which I know you guys cut here with the horses. They need water. They need maintenance. They need their hooves done. You have to have your saddle equipment, reins, things like that. So walk me through how the business side of it makes this profitable.
I have no idea. I'm just kidding. That's also the beauty of our situation here, is that I don't own the horses. Don owns them. Don has all the harness. I own some of the equipment. He owns some of the other equipment. Okay. I think the thing that will long-term make medicinal herbs profitable is that there's a huge market. The market is massive, and there's not enough domestic growers, I don't believe. I've sold out of basically every single crop this past winter.
Wow.
Which is incredible. It blew my mind. It's also incredibly stressful.
Are you only selling local at the Ithaca Farmers Market? Because that's where I saw you at.
That's right.
That's where I found you.
That's not the only place I sell. I have a website, horsetailherbfarm.com. So I sell dried herbs on that. I'm also part of this herb growing collaborative based in Maine, which does a lot of outreach to people. They do a lot of marketing. I'm just a member. I have all of my herbs on their website and then sell through them, and I ship directly from here. They do a lot of marketing, and that's been incredibly helpful. Shout out to Emily at Meeting House Farm. She's a powerhouse of a gal. And then just word of mouth, like, it's surprising how much videos of horses and videos of herbs make people aware of your products on social media. I also have been able to make great connections with various apothecaries throughout the country, actually, like Maine and Vermont and Rhode Island, Connecticut, California, like places all over the place, who are looking for herbs that are grown in the United States and maybe aren't grown using diesel fuel. I think that's a big draw for people. Certified organic is a huge draw for people. And so it's just about those people being able to find me and me being able to find those people. And right now it's been word of mouth, a little bit the internet. I think long-term medicinal herbs being incorporated into our other bigger farms is a good economic move for people. The part that makes it more difficult for like a veg grower to transition, I believe, is the back end, which is the processing. A vegetable, you can cut a head of lettuce, wash it, put it in a bag, sell it. Medicinal herbs, you harvest them, dry them, process them, which means garbling, so taking the stems out, and then packing and selling. So it's like a totally different production system on that side, which for me wasn't too hard to figure out transitioning from veg, but I mean there was a serious learning curve, but once you get it, you get it. Right. And there's also a really wonderful reference book, The Organic Medicinal Herb Grower. It's by Jeff and Melanie Carpenter. They own Zach Wood's Herb Farm in Hyde Park, Vermont, and they wrote the book. It's the book for all of us,
Yeah.
all of us tiny herb farmers out here. That's
Okay.
the book that we go to. And that was actually, their farm is a great inspiration too.
Okay.
I've never been there, but the photos and like the things they're showing on the internet are really, really awesome.
Yeah.
They're very cool.
So speaking of what people show on the internet,
You want to see my weeds?
that's not where I was going with it.
Oh, okay.
No, I was just thinking, you said people like to see horses.
They do.
And that it's interesting that people who see horses on the internet and they go, oh, those are herbs or flowers or whatever they are. Do you think that there's also a push of this economical, ecological idea to go away from, like you said, going away from diesel fuel? People are seeing that or wanting that?
I wonder that too. The horse-powered community is like, it's a small community, and so we often support each other on the internet and like all the views, but I think a lot of outside people are discovering horsepower and discovering horsepower in a way that makes them feel good about what they're buying. This person, you know, I might have put this herb on a FedEx truck to get to you, but I still did my best to like use my horses and not contribute to climate change. And I think people are starting to connect with that pretty seriously. It's wonderful for me. It means that like horse-powered farms can be supported and aren't gonna die out.
Yeah.
Which is something that's really important to me. The skills of being a teamster, you want those to stay around.
Yeah.
You want people to continue learning. And I think that when people see your videos on Instagram or on the internet, they're like, that is a cool thing. I like that. And maybe it would inspire them to learn how to become a teamster or to spend time around horses. And also to be reminded that there are other options. Human-powered farming is great. It's hard. Horse-powered farming is great. It's also hard, but in a different way. And reminding people that horsepower is an option. It still exists. I don't know. I think it's important as well.
Do you think that we would be able to see a horse do something?
Yeah, we could go for a ride.
Okay, so we're going to harness Ida and go on a sled ride. So we're not doing any work. We're just going to go on a little stroll. I love it.
Ride.
Let's do it. That I can handle. I can handle that kind of ride.
Totally.
Catch me in a few years, maybe I've had some practice, and then we can go on a real ride.
Come here, Ida. Come here. There you go. Thank you.
You're welcome. You want me to walk beside you or behind her?
Oh, doesn't matter to me.
Okay. Ida doesn't matter to you.
She doesn't care. She's like, my left side is my good side. Oh. Here. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Come here. Yeah. Don't be saucy.
Are you just making sure she's got a good drink?
Yeah, Ida's funny. She has that huge water bowl full of water in there. Won't drink out of it. I washed it like 4 times. Won't drink out of it. She'll only drink out of these cups. So every time we bring her in here, we make sure she drinks.
You're a little picky. I get it. I'm picky with my water too, Ida. I understand. So what is this contraption?
This is this is the harness. There's several different kinds of horse harness. We use the D-ring. That's because it's nice, it's tight, it feels safe. We have lots of rocks in our soil. So D-ring is like the New England style. It's great because it moves the weight of the collar to the back pad, which helps when you're like hitting rocks during plowing or all that
so it doesn't
stuff.
just like jolt them forward?
Right, and it doesn't cause sores on the back of the
Okay.
neck. But this, people are very opinionated about harnesses.
Okay.
I like D-ring. I've used Western Britchin. I'm not that opinionated, but other people are like, no, this is the best one. Depends on your soil.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm like all things farming, right? Depends on where you're at.
Exactly. Oh, you're so good. Oh man, the flies have been really bad today, especially. I think we'll use fly nets.
Is this the fly net?
This is the fly net, yeah.
Okay. Not what I was expecting for a fly net.
No,
How does it
it's
work?
like kind of fancy.
Yeah.
Thinking we should put some glitter on it.
How does it work?
Just by hanging down and by moving, so like.
Oh, it keeps the flies off. Oh,
right.
I see.
As the horse moves, it'll jingle around.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it helps with the flies like that are on the body, but on the face, there's not really. Well, you'll see our fancy. Did I put it on upside down? I did. You'll see our fancy bridles with their really, really funny fly nets on them. They're hilarious. Don makes them out of Baylor twine.
Oh, he does. That's awesome.
Yeah, they're actually quite helpful, which is nice. There we go. All right, you're almost ready. So this horse is one of the only horses on this farm that wears blinders. We usually, most of these horses are open-faced.
Why the blinders?
Which is pretty unique. Because this horse wasn't trained open-faced.
Oh.
This horse is a little bit older. She's like 13.
Okay.
She wasn't trained to be driven. Come on now. She wasn't trained to be driven open-faced.
Gotcha.
So.
And this is the blinders that you said Dawn made with the baleen twine.
Oh, these are the fly nets.
Yeah, the fly nets. Yeah, so fancy.
I know, right?
I love it.
You're a party girl. Look at these, so fancy. Oh, there we go. This one's a funny one.
So what do the blinders do? They just keep them on track?
Keep them from looking at distractions. You know, they do have drawbacks for sure. I've driven horses with blinders and without, but you know, if you're in the woods with logs, skidding logs or whatever, it's nice if your horse can see and see well, but often horses that are trained with blinders, they don't transition to open-faced very well. You know, routine.
Yep.
Safety. So these are the lines. This is how we give her directions.
Okay. Kind of like reins?
Exactly. Except lots longer.
Yeah.
Obviously. Everybody's gonna stay in there. They're like, there's flies out there.
So instead of leading her with her halter, you're leading her with the...
I'm just driving her with the lines. Oh, there's Dawn. We're just gonna ride around on the sled. Cool. Is there a single tree? Yeah, here we go. Oh wow, this one's wearing. Ida. The stone boat is over there. I can find it. Come on. Whoa. Whoa. Back.
And here I thought we were going to hop on the wheels.
Back. Back. Whoa. Now this is our favorite new.
Ah.
This is my favorite new tool. I think everybody really loves this thing. It's
What do you use it for?
Everything.
Literally
Dragging stones out of the garden, dragging transplants to the garden,
Yeah.
dragging around round bales, like you name it.
Yeah.
Dragging around people, like transportation. Ooh, it's gonna be like the subway.
Yep. I've never been on the subway.
Oh,
But I have been on a hay wagon.
10-4. It doesn't roll, it jerks a little, so.
Okay.
Ida?
Nice. No wonder she's got a big booty, huh?
Yeah. She needs it.
If I had to pull something like this, I think I'd have a big booty too.
We all would. Yeah, so let's see. What can we do? Oh, let's go out to the field. It's really beautiful out there.
Okay.
I'll show you where we do a lot of our haying. Yeah, this is an extremely versatile piece of equipment.
Yeah, and it's just wood, right? Like just a
It's
log?
just wood, yeah. And then this
Handle?
rail. Dawn made it this past winter, so we got it out this spring, and we haven't stopped using it. We use it
Wow.
like several times a week.
Have you ever fallen off?
I haven't, actually. Somebody came to visit the farm last week and fell off, and I felt so bad.
Oh no. I promise to hold on to it. Has any of this been like a learning curve for you?
Oh, totally. Yeah, like as far as learning how to work around and be around a stallion has been a learning curve.
Okay.
Learning about foaling and horse reproduction has been an excellent learning curve, lots of fun. And, you know, like transitioning from, like, I had a lot of veg knowledge, transitioning that knowledge to herbs, like an annual system into a perennial system has been a big learning curve too.
Okay.
So, like everything. Also,
Yeah.
like, how do you run your own business?
Right.
You have to file taxes? Like,
Right.
how do you even do that? So,
What about with, because you said on the vegetable farm that you worked on, it was horse powered.
that's right.
But did you have the kind of custom equipment that like Dawn makes here?
yeah. No.
Okay.
A lot of that equipment was stuff that the boss found at auctions, or stuff from the 1940s. The same kind of equipment.
But not stuff like this that we're
No.
riding on.
That's right, no.
Yeah,
Not
this
really.
is awesome. Are you using her to keep your balance, or is this all your legs?
This is all my legs.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, you don't really want to pull on her mouth.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
You did a silly thing.
Got a tangle in her tail.
Sometimes the horses, depending on the horse, they like to play with the lines with their tail. It's so annoying. Or, Ida. Yep, yep, yep. Slide. There we go. Yep, yep, yep.
So
I'm
fun.
just gonna go on a short little jaunt.
That's fine. What a beautiful view.
This is where we do most of our haying is out here. This field is certified organic, but it's leased from our neighbor.
Okay.
Don and Mary Rose leased this from our neighbor. So we graze here, graze sheep, horses, and the cow, and then make a lot of hay out here.
And you said that's part of your contract, your lease agreement is to help with things like
Right.
this.
Yeah.
So, and we don't have to keep it in if you don't feel comfortable, but
Yeah.
with your lease contract, is that monetary or is that just your work?
It's a handshake agreement. It's
Okay.
monetary as well.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Okay.
we do pay lease.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's very fair
Yeah.
as far as, extremely fair.
Yeah.
As far as leases go. This is a hard pull for one horse.
Yeah.
So
She's working.
she
She's
is.
working really hard.
She's doing good.
And we're kind of going uphill.
Right. So when we turn around and go back, she'll be like, yes.
Fully. Are we doing that now?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, that's what she's saying. She's like, we're turning around now.
It's time. Ida, step up. Get up. Yep. Good girl. Good girl. Come G. Come G. Come G. Come on. She can't see.
She's like, I don't know where I'm going.
Why are these blinders on my face? She can see. I'm just
Yeah.
exaggerating.
There we go.
There we are. She's like, all right. It's a cool breeze coming out of them trees.
That's right. And now downhill.
Right.
Does each horse have, when you were asking Corey which horses he was going to use, does each horse have their own like specialty?
They definitely have strengths and weaknesses. Red and Rock, the gelding and the stallion, work very well together, and they walk quite straight.
Okay.
Sometimes Duchess doesn't walk straight, so it's hard to do something like cultivating with a horse that's not really going to walk that straight. We could work on it, but we could make her better at it for sure.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's just easier to grab the team that can do a good job.
Yeah. So like Duchess, she doesn't walk straight, but what does she do good?
She rides pretty well.
Okay.
She's a good mom. She's a
Okay.
good mom.
So you have these workhorses. I know they're technically Dawn's, but with you breeding them, and like you've got Ida here, who's not actually a horse here. Do you sell the foals?
Dawn and Mary Rose have sold several foals.
Okay.
We had 2 fillies here out of Red and Mary. They were full sisters. Dawn and Mary Rose sold them, I think, in the fall. And we plan on keeping Duke for now, but it's. We have a lot of horses. We don't really need that many more.
Yeah.
So it's kind of gonna depend on like economics
Yeah.
too. Be a little quieter. And you know what Dawn and Mary Rose choose to do? I've often thought about buying a foal from them
Yeah.
and having a foal, but I'm not there yet.
Yeah.
I'm not there yet.
No, I totally feel that.
Or I'd love to buy a mare that's not related, so we can have another mare that we can breed to Red. It's been really fun having the babies around.
Yeah.
It's so nice.
I gotta say, I really didn't think that I was gonna be doing this.
Oh,
today.
really?
No.
Good.
I mean, I knew it would involve horses,
Yeah.
but this is awesome. So fun.
It's really fulfilling.
Yeah, so much to unpack here.
So much stuff.
I mean, using the horsepower in itself is awesome, but you starting your own business and running it and just finding the power and the nature with herbs and growing that, I mean, all of that is amazing. I love what you're doing here. And I always like to ask a little bit of advice at the end. If somebody like me wanted to use workhorses, what is like the first thing you would recommend they do?
Find a mentor.
Okay.
Find yourself an old timer who's willing to walk you through what he does and see what he does. Find more than one mentor if you can, because everyone has a different style, and you can learn a lot from different styles as you develop your own style.
Yeah.
Everyone has a different idea of what safety looks like too. And safety around draft horses is obviously an important factor.
Safety for yourself, for them, both?
Both,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. But finding a mentor, that's how I did it. That's how I've done it. You'll avoid a lot of wrecks if you have someone there to help you with the beginning stages of learning. I mean, there's so much learning to do in the beginning. There's so much learning to do throughout.
Yeah.
Like, you never stop learning. I certainly love horses because you never stop learning.
Yeah.
You're never gonna get bored. Same with the herbs. I'm never gonna get bored.
Yeah.
Which is great. But finding someone who has that experience, who has had a bunch of wrecks, and who can avoid them is like numero uno.
Yeah.
For sure.
No, I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Becky, for
Yeah.
bringing me along on this awesome literal ride. This has been so awesome. Thank you, Ida. Yeah, you've been great. I know the flies are pissing you off right now. If anybody's curious about what you're doing, we'll put all of your links in the
That sounds
description.
great.
They can find more about you, your business, anything you put out there. But thank you, Becky,
Yeah,
for
absolutely.
having me. I really appreciate
Thanks
it.
for coming out.
Yeah. Becky was on my contact list while we were here in New York, and I reached out to her and I didn't hear anything. And I said, well, she's at the Ithaca Farmers Market, so I'm gonna go and talk to her and see if I can convince her to let me come out, because her website says she has horsepower, and that's really cool. I haven't seen that yet. So I went out and she's like, let me think about it. We're really busy. And then she texted me a few days later and said, yeah, come on out. I think it would be really fun to have you here. So I am so incredibly thankful to have talked with her, seen the horses, taken a ride. It's so, so cool. It really, really makes me wonder if whenever we settle down, will we have horses and will they work for us? I don't know. But I think that if you are interested in using horsepower, it looks like a heck of a lot of fun, and I think that you should do it. Thank you again for coming along with me today. I hope that we see you at the next one.